Hey folks, Daydreamer here, Heartwood Photography, and I'm here to talk to you about trail shoes and selections. So first we're going to start off with the lightest option, and we'll work our way over to the heaviest option. And we'll talk about pros and cons, and at the end I'll tell you a little bit about what I choose and why, as well as some of the considerations to go over. So we're going to call these open shoes. You'll see a lot of people wearing these, and it makes me cringe, but hey, whatever works for them. Flip-flops and sandals. So why do they make me cringe? They offer, in my opinion, little to no protection. They're too open along the sides. It's easy to get stuff wrapped up in there and underneath your foot. These offer only protection to the bottom, and these have a lot of holes in them. And let me say that these are just kind of house shoes, where these are not mine. So why don't I like them? Again, no real protection. If you're on a gravel area, rocks are going to bounce up, get in there. It's just a hassle. Same thing, you get sand under there. But why would people wear these? One, they're comfortable. It's nice to let your feet breathe. It's nice to kind of feel more relaxed. And honestly, they're not bad if you're just crossing a river. Now, I'm not talking about these. These I would never want to ever recommend on a trail. But to use something like a hiking sandal, be great for crossing a river. You know, you get them wet, just carabiner back together, and you hang them off the back of your pack to dry. They'll also make good camp shoes, which you could do the flip-flops for those, at least around camp. But I would never want to use those on an actual trail. However, there is a trail purpose for them. If you're doing like just a nice concrete or asphalt hiking trail, city parks or things like that, that would be alright, but I'd never want to take them backcountry or that kind of terrain. However, the next step up we could be looking at is running shoes. You'll see a lot of these. So here we're looking at a pair of Brooks and a pair of Merrells. These are actually trail runners and these are road runners. The first thing you're going to notice on these is actually the tread. Now these are a little bit worn, so now I just use them for in the gym. You know, go lift weights, things like that. Cleaned them up, bottoms are nice, but the big difference is this is designed to grip concrete and asphalt, and these are designed to grip dirt, bark, a little bit of asphalt in there. But when you step, it's designed to grip as you're stepping in and release as you're pulling out. You also find that a lot of trail runners have a lot more flex in them. So these ones actually, the Brooks don't even want to really flex that much. Put a lot of effort into that. They're definitely a lightweight compared to these. This is a lot thicker, where this is a lot thinner for the bottom part here. I mean, those are just a couple of considerations and differences just between the shoes themselves. So while the Brooks are designed for high impact, shock absorption, trail runners not as much, only because you're already on a soft terrain where concrete is going to have a lot more shock going into your joints. So a couple of considerations there. However, both are a lot lighter than any of the hiking shoes or boots. So, and you are picking out a pair of shoes in that realm, I would definitely consider looking at actual trail shoes if you're looking for something on the trail. They do make shoes for different purposes. So like I showed you the Brooks, those are specifically designed for getting out on the road, where the Merrells are designed specifically for the trail. Which brings us to the next set, hiking shoes. Now, I'm trying to do my best here to give you guys a comparison between hiking shoes and other purpose shoes, just so you guys kind of can see the difference. Because a lot of times you'll see people who will go ahead and strictly just say, oh yeah, I got a pair of tennis shoes, I'm going to throw them on, I'll be good for the trail. No, you really do want to get something designed for that purpose, because one, the way they grip is going to be a lot different, the type of terrain, the material. Like I said, trail runners are going to be a lot more lighter material than your regular running shoes, just as a general concept, but obviously there are always going to be exceptions based on what they're made out of. Which we all know, the lighter you go, the more you pay, right? So again, two shoes, both Keens. So what's the difference here? Again, we're going to look at the soles. Well, I can tell you right now, the heavier of them is this one. And the big thing you'll notice is this one has the yellow caution symbol. This one is darker, but that just kind of tells me which these two are apart. They're both safety toe in the aspect that they have a hard rubber writing up, which is why they have that symbol. But these are actually a steel toe work shoes. So the rubber on these is actually really wet or slick. So they're a lot stiffer. They look more like a synthetic rubber than feeling like an actual rubber. They're not really squishy like rubber is. They're a lot heavier. They're a lot more stiff on the sole. And then you have the actual trail shoe. This one's actually going to be able to bend because it doesn't have the steel in there. It's actually a lot more cushiony inside. The rubber you can feel has actually more of a rubber feel, where this is more of a plastic looking feel. So I probably wouldn't want to wear those on the trail. So why the sole? Well, the other shoes don't have these along the side, and the way they're designed, which I know I have one here. Here we go. You can kind of see the difference. These are designed more just to kind of give stability. They're kind of anti-slip, where these are designed really to kind of dig in to the dirt and gravel to give you a nice footing so you don't slip and fall. They're a lot lighter than the steel toe shoes for sure, and the comfortability in here is designed for that kind of off-road terrain as well. So heavier than the trail shoe or the trail runner, but they're going to be more durable, more off-road, more going on, where I would take the trail runners to go ahead and look at kind of paved trails or groomed off-road trails. I would use the hiking shoes for going over a lot of brush, rock, different kinds of rugged terrain. However, we also have hiking boots. Now, hiking boots typically come in two styles, mid and high. So when you start talking about a high boot, you're thinking about almost like a combat boot. Big difference though on these two. So I've got a pair of Thoroughgoods that I picked up for doing some firefighter training, and I have a pair of Keens that I picked up for the hiking. And you can definitely right off see the big difference on the soles. This isn't going to grip much, but it's a good casual everyday shoe, so it'll work great on concrete, even though I've worn the soles down now. Where these are going to grip just like their trail shoe. All the same benefits and cons of the trail shoe, only now you're adding a little bit more protection around the ankles, and they're a little bit more durable. I feel like they're going to hold up a lot better. Now, something to consider with this versus your trail runners as well is mileage. Trail runners will average about 500 miles before the soles wear out and need to be replaced, where your trail boots are said to go about 1,000 miles. Now, where are the downfalls? Again, you're talking about something heavier, something that's going to dry a lot slower compared to a trail runner, but it does add more protection. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're doing a groomed trail, just go with the trail runners, they'll be fine. But if you're doing something rugged, such as going through rocks and brush, you know, there's going to be a lot of downed trees. Maybe I'm not talking about rain, but if you're talking about going through like damp mud, this would be a nice option to go with. It's higher up than the shoe is, so it won't pour up and in. You won't get a lot of stuff going on to the inside there. You can always combine it with a pair of gaiters if you wanted to have that extra protection going up your calf. And things like that. But again, like I mentioned, they are heavier, they are going to dry slower, so that's something to consider. Durability wise, you're going to last about 1,000 miles. And again, that's just approximate numbers compared to the 500 miles on the trail runners. So what to choose? A lot of it's going to come down to the activity you're doing, the weather conditions, your comfort level, and what you're willing to take on or you want to give up. Now, me personally, I use the hiking boot. For hiking, I use a hiking shoe strictly for just casual everyday wear. My steel toe shoes are my actual work shoes. The boots that I have here are just kind of general stuff. If I'm doing things like, I don't know, helping somebody move or things like that, they're a composite toe, so I kind of like that. I don't have the same weight as I do with the shoe version just because it does the plastic toe versus a steel. But again, it all comes down to what's best for you. Considerations, I would say, when you're trying to decide what to get is, first, what is the terrain that you're going to hit? Because if you're telling me that you're going on a groomed trail, you can use any of these. If you're doing like a city park trail, get any of them. If the trail is just literally a walking trail that's running through town and it's all concrete or cement, you can literally just use any of these. Including the sandals. I wouldn't do the flip-flop, but you could do the sandals. If you're doing an off-road trail, like let's say it's just kind of like groomed gravel, why not just go with the trail runners? That would be the best bet at that point. They're a nice lightweight. However, now we're saying, it's a little more than that. You know, we're actually up in the woods. We're not really on a trail. It's kind of, I mean, it's a trail, but you know, we're going to be going over some rocks and we might be going over some branches and that kind of thing. And, you know, so I want to have something that's going to hold up a little better. I would at least look at a trail shoe. And if you're talking about colder conditions and you're talking about conditions that mud and down trees a lot, if you're going to try to probably do a lot of off trail, then I definitely look into the boot. So that's what I say is look at the terrain, and that'll kind of tell you how many options you have to choose from. So once you've decided that, you know that, I guess for the purpose of this, we'll say, all right, well, I know I'm going to be hiking a trail and it's pretty much all grass and dirt and mud, dry mud, not wet. You know, I could probably use any of those. Okay, well, you got three options: trail runners, hiking shoe, hiking boot. So now what do we got to look at? What are the weather conditions? Well, I know it's going to rain a little bit. Okay, well, you know, the trail runner might not be your best option, so let's look at the hiking shoe. I mean, that might be an option. It's going to be really cold out. I'd go with the hiking boot. A little bit higher, a little bit more warmth in there. Typically you can find boots with insulation. They do make shoes, but I don't feel it's going to give you as much insulation because it doesn't come up all the way as or as high as a boot would. So that's something to consider, as well as having that higher amount, like with snow, is going to keep some of that from kind of dipping in around your ankles. And like I mentioned, you can use that with gaiters as well to kind of help keep that snow out. So those are just kind of some considerations. Now what I choose these. I always hike in these. These are actually purchased by me specifically for hiking. The shoes, alright, well, I'll use those as everyday pair. The trail runners, gym shoes, but that's my preference. That's what I like. That's what I'm comfortable with. I have hiked just like 2-3 mile trips in the trail runners. I think they're a lot lighter, they're a lot more comfortable, and that's kind of really important. Now, one thing that I do with every pair of shoes I buy, I don't care what it is, work shoe, casual shoe, hiking shoe, I mean gym shoes, whatever it is, I always do a toe test. So what is that? I like to first put it on, stand up in it. If you have the opportunity to get shoes in the winter, that's going to probably be your better time, or at least when it's really wet and dampy. Find the time of the year that your feet swell the most. For some people, it seems like they swell mostly in the winter, and for others, it's just during the rainy seasons. Something with the humidity. But I like to do a toe test. What that means is if this is on my foot, once I've determined that I've got the right size and I've got the right width, the next thing I'll do is put this on. I'll walk around in it. If it's comfortable enough, I'll actually, with my foot in there, we'll pretend this is my foot, I'll tap it down. The one thing I do not want to happen is my toe to hit this piece. I don't care what kind of shoe you're wearing. The purpose of that is to make sure that your feet, your toes aren't going to get squished up against the toe box, which is going to cause not only uncomfortability, but could cause potential injury and damage, from your toenails to jamming your toe up. And that may seem minor until you realize that now you're walking on it, and as you continue to walk on it, it's gonna, because you've jammed your toe, now all of a sudden you're gonna create a waterfall effect. You're going to, so let's say you jam your toe. Now you keep walking on it. All of a sudden you're irritating it, which causes inflammation. Then inflammation is going to further cause irritation and could cause potential injury. So not only did you go from, so let's say it was a sprain on your toe, jammed it up really nice and hard, and you overextended it or something, and you got that sprain. Well, that sprain can turn into a tear, which can turn into a break. Now all of a sudden you're off the trail and your hike is over. So that's why I say you want to make sure that you're properly fitting your boots. With that also, you want to talk about the heel. When you step, if your feet, or if your boots aren't completely 100% secured, typically half an inch will sometimes be allowed for when you take a step up. I like my heel to be kind of completely planted, so as I walk, my heel is lifting, but there are a lot of people that just like that half inch. A lot of times you'll see that half inch with like cowboy boots and things like that because they're not fit snug. I ideally, when I lift my heel up, I don't want it coming up off the sole of my boot. So that's also something to consider, is how you want to fit your boots. If you're using something that's a little bit more not laced, not compressed, no more than a half inch, but I would try to keep it around a 1/4 inch for fitting. And then if you are wearing something that does lace up and like that, you really shouldn't be coming up more than a 1/4 inch on that step, if nothing at all, to be honest. So hopefully that's some information that'll help you with your selection. I mean, to kind of break a lot of this down, look at the terrain that you're hiking, look at the weather conditions you're hiking, and go ahead and find out what is most comfortable for you and your foot, because at the end of the day, all the advice in the world isn't going to matter until you actually put a pair on, which is why I always advise, if you're buying something like shoes and even clothing, those are items that I want to particularly try on before I make the purchase. So if that means you have to go to your local REI, Gander Mountain, your Shields, Cabela's, wherever you go, try them on. At least find a brand of shoe that fits, because I could go ahead and try these on, and I could try the trail runners on, and guess what? Those trail runners are by Merrell. These are by Keen. I don't know exact size right off the top of my head, but as an example, I may be okay with a 12 in these, but I may need a 12.5 in the trail runners, or vice versa. So every brand is going to fit a little bit different than the other. So if you're wearing one brand and you're about to switch, try them on in that brand, at least to get an idea of where you at. And don't use one of those little foot things. I mean, those will give you a general ballpark. So if you use one of those metal foot trays and you size your foot, it says 12, be prepared to try at least 3 sizes. Go at least a half size below, get the one that it recommends, and go a half size above, because depending on how your feet are, that's going to make a big difference. And don't try just one shoe on, try both. Sometimes our feet are going to be a little bit different. You might have one foot that's a little bit wider than the other, and you want to make sure that it fits. So if that becomes an issue, always go with the size that's one size bigger. So I mean, if your left foot's going to need the 12.5 and your right foot needs a 12, go with the 12.5. You can always get a pair of a little bit thicker socks, or I guess you could wear two different pair of socks. Have a lighter pair for the left foot and have a thicker pair for the right. But those are just also some things to consider when purchasing new hiking shoes. So with that being said, you know, good luck. Take your time. Get out there. Try them on. Just remember that even within the same brand, one style to the next style can also differ in sizing. So always try things on before you just start running online and purchasing, just because you may never know, and you want to at least make sure you get a good ballpark. So, and it gives you an opportunity to see how that feels. Do you feel that they're going to hold up? Are they rugged enough? And whatnot. So again, God bless. Make sure you subscribe, and please let me know if you have any comments, feedbacks, and as a matter of fact, comment below what kind of shoes you prefer on the trail and tell me why. And if you'd like, also include, you know, some of the pros and cons of other shoes that you've worn, or why you might have made a switch from trail runners to boots, or from boots to trail runners, and just help us all come together as an outdoor community, and we can all learn from each other. Thank you, and have a good day.